Well, welcome to another very special episode of Profit Made Simple. Today, we have an incredible guest, the one, the only, Van Marinos from Community Moves. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Dan. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Mate, it's awesome to have you here. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. Now, I just want to paint a picture. You sit in this chair as a multi-location business owner. You got 3 locations right now: Frenchs Forest, Neutral Bay, Narrabeen. We'll get you over the bridge one day. You've developed an incredible brand that's all about inclusiveness and community. 5 years ago, did you ever think this was possible?
Great question. 5 years ago, COVID aside, not really. I mean, as any business owner, it's a bit of a leap of faith, a lot of it. I mean, I knew I had the passion, the values, the skill set, it all matched in terms of my head, but then putting a plan into action is a tough ask. And at that point, 5 years ago, I was, single location, doing most of the things myself. It was just me and my little gym space, and I was loving it. But, to flip the question on the head a little, if you'd said to me, in 5 years' time, if I told you had 3 gyms, would you be happy? Would you be satisfied? I'd be over the moon. So, mate, I'm extremely grateful for where I am, and I don't take any of it for granted. But I'm thoroughly enjoying the ride.
Oh, congratulations. It's been awesome to see the ride, be part of the ride as well. You said you had to take a leap of faith, and there'll be listeners and people watching out there that probably have a concept where they need to take a leap of faith. What gave you the confidence to do so?
As much as there is the element of that leap of faith that we've just mentioned, and eventually you've just got to take the risk. It was very much a calculated risk. I'd had a history. I've been 20 years in health and fitness industry. I also had a decade in sort of sports administration, sports development, coach education. So I knew how to put a business plan together. I knew elements of marketing plans and how to use, Excel spreadsheets and things like that. So I actually put a lot of planning into place before I took the first leap. I ran a pilot program to get proof of concept, to ensure that, what I was doing was something that was going to be of value to my potential clients. So when I did take the risk, I felt like I had the confidence to at least, start. Whereas, if I just opened and hoped that people would turn up without proving my concept, then I don't think I would have had as much success as I've had.
So whilst there was a risk, you did minimize the risk itself. You did a lot of due diligence, from just the preparation, running the financials, looking at whether this was going to be a viable business model. Yeah. I love the pilot model concept as well. Yeah. And I think that's a really important point for listeners out there is how can you test? What's a lean way that you can test the concept that you have without having to get the facility, do the fit out, and put the big capital expenditure in place?
Yeah, I mean, even to the extent of, at the time I was working, a 9 to 5 with Football Federation Australia. It was an office job. So I went back and did 18 months so I left that, decided I wanted to run my own business. Whilst I was doing the planning, went back to being a PT just to get used to getting up at 4:30 in the morning again, just to start to train the body to get used to that pattern and start to work with clients rather than just rushing into it. And luckily I had, some contacts with gyms I'd used to work in and some that I still coached in that were kind enough to lend me their studio so I could test my model on just a lean 6-week program. We were there 2 nights a week and I just got volunteers to come in. They didn't have to pay anything just so I could run the classes, test my format, test the product, see if I was any good at it. And then, in the background did all the work on the financials and the marketing piece and, getting the business plan together. So, to that extent, it was well worth doing all that prep work beforehand. But then eventually, mate, you've just got to jump in.
Yeah. And well done for jumping in. For the listeners out there, people watching, Eric Rees, lean startup, great model. And that's what you've done there is it's not an all or nothing, but it's like, how can we do the leanest version possible? Let's get some feedback from the market, and then we can make the necessary iterations once we do launch as well. I want to go back a little bit. We've talked about you've now got 3 incredible locations in Sydney. They're absolutely booming. What was the original vision for Community Moves? Because it is very distinct. It is very different from a lot of the gyms that we see out there. So what was the mission that you wanted to accomplish and achieve, and what did you want to stand for?
I love this question because it's something that's both very personal to me, but then there's also that professional element as well. When as I'd mentioned, I'd been in sort of sports admin and got to a stage I was, in my early 30s. To go any further in sports admin, you're trading, your football boots for business shoes. And I would have been sitting behind a desk and being a sports administrator, which wasn't the path that I wanted to take. And at the same time, I was still doing a lot of fitness coaching and running my own personal training business and bits and pieces. And so I made the decision, I want to be a business owner. I want to run my own business, and I want it to be in health and fitness. But I didn't just jump in and do, what, a lot of people probably thought, you might do, which is just go and train people the way you like to train. I did a bit of analysis, firstly around, looking at health trends, looking at, aging population, rising rates of chronic disease, where are my skill sets and my experience going to be most valuable to the population? And then I mentioned before the personal factor. One of the key drivers was I looked at my mum and dad and I was like, what is going to get them exercising? What is going to work for this population? Because my dad would never walk into a gym that I went to. He'd walk in and be like, nah, see you, I'm out of here. This is not for me. And mum would go to a gym and, and she'd end up at the back of a class full of, 30-year-olds bouncing around, and no one's giving her proper instruction and asking her to deadlift 50 times whilst on a step. And you're like, that is not the right environment for her. And her friends and people of that age, in my mind, the fitness industry did not cater to them well enough. And so for me, I was like, right, I want to make a difference. I want to do something that is valuable, and I want to have an impact on older adults. I want to help them improve their health and, have an impact on the health statistics for that population. And I want to do something that's worthwhile, because that's something that matches with my experience and my values at the same time. So that's where the idea, spawned, and then it just evolved from there.
What helped you uncover that need? Because it is a huge, distinct need going way back about 15 years ago. I wrote my thesis on Australia's aging population and the lack of options there are in terms of leisure, fitness, exercise. What helped you see that? Obviously, your parents helped you see it, but in addition to being very close to you, how did you see the bigger need?
I think just looking at, as a gym goer, a bit of a gym rat myself, and I'd personal trained in Bond Street Fitness First, and I used to be a member of one of the Fitness Firsts and like down at Bondi and in Oxford Street, and then I'd go and do a bit of CrossFit, and I knew that industry pretty well and what those offerings were like. And I didn't see many people that represented, the older adult population in those facilities. And it doesn't take, you don't have to be a genius to realize that blaring, top 40 music, cycle studios that have got like raging neon lights and pumping music was not the environment that was going to attract, my parents.
No.
Right? Firstly, they can't hear anything. They barely see, and it needs to be welcoming. And you walk into some gyms and there is, Olympic lifting platforms and people that do muscle ups, and that is not what's going to work.
You're just going to intimidate them. Exactly, you're going to overwhelm them, and they're never going to come back. Yeah, exactly right.
And so that's it wasn't hard for me to feel like I was informed enough to know that environment wasn't right. It was then the challenge is trying to cultivate an environment that was right. And when you look at, all the models of health behavior change, they all pay some sort of, respect, or there's always an element of social interaction, accountability, in terms of in terms of adherence to a program. And so, take dieting, for example. It is hard. It's hard for people to change their habits. Health behavior change is difficult. That is why, you've got an obesity crisis, and there's, 60% of people aren't meeting the activity recommendations, because changing the way we behave is really tough, especially if we're doing it by ourselves. So I knew that, asking people to come to a gym where it was DIY fitness and just go and sit on a machine and do it yourself, it might work for the first month. But then the thing that keeps people going back, and in my case, is going to have to be more than just the exercise.
So it was very purposeful. You designed it from the beginning with a strong emphasis on connection and community.
Mate, the name is Community Moves. And that's because I knew at the start it had to be, and that's why it was group exercise only. We do a little bit of PT only to get people into the group exercise, because, like it or not, you force people to meet with each other 3 times a week, they're going to become connected.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be friends. And then all of a sudden, you start exercising next to someone, and, a couple of sessions later, you're asking questions about their family. And before you know it, you're going to coffee, they're traveling together, they're in a WhatsApp group, they're going to the movies. And the gym just is their opportunity to see each other regularly. So it's no longer about the gym, it's about the connection, and that keeps them coming. So they're consistently exercising, their health's improving, they're consistently meeting their friends, their social health is improving, and that has a flow-on effect to community health as well.
Yeah, I remember a distinct conversation you and I had about 2 years ago, and you said, whilst we are a fitness business, we're a fitness studio, what we are actually primarily and first and foremost is a community, and fitness is just something that we do.
100%. I've sort of, started to change my thinking even so much that sometimes I think we're a social club that exercises together.
Yeah, but I think looking at it through that lens is very important, because you're obviously then designing the curriculum, the programs, the experiences to facilitate that and make sure that we're bringing that to life.
Yeah, Dan, it is absolutely part of the DNA of our business, and it permeates through all decisions around marketing, retention, recruitment, staffing, everything. There is always, a part of, or the social part of the business is integral in all our decision making. And what that means is that it's also okay for us not to be for everyone, because there are people that come into that environment and go, "Oh God, everyone talks too much," and you're like, "Well, this is probably not for you."
Yeah. And again, I think the clarity that you have on who we are, but also who we're not. And if you want to come in here and you want to put on AirPods, or you just want to stand in the corner and be isolation, you're probably not going to be part of Community Moves. But if you like interaction, if you like being social, if you're looking for more, if you're looking for a tribe, then you're going to be the right fit.
Yeah. There was I won't name her, but there was one lady that came in, and after her first couple of sessions, she was like, "Look, I love the program. I love the exercises. It's great." She's like, "But there's that one lady that just keeps talking to me." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's my mum." And I'm like, "She ain't going to stop talking to you, but she is why we love it here." Because she makes, if you are someone that needs conversation and you want to be included socially, she's the go-to.
I love that.
Yeah. So I was like, you're not going to win that battle.
No. Definitely not. So, you've described an incredible business thus far and 3 locations, but it hasn't always been easy for you, has it? There's no doubt there's been some pretty significant challenges within this business journey. Let's go back to some of those early challenges that you encountered with location 1 and growing and expanding that to what it is today.
Oh God, get the list, man.
How long do we have?
Yeah, exactly right. Look, I think, like one of the things that I look at, I go back now and I think about, getting into that. Although I did all that planning work, things like negotiating a lease. I didn't know you could negotiate. I just accepted it and signed it.
Oh, they would have loved you.
Oh my gosh. And then, I'm like, so there was a challenge, because then, later on when you're trying to renegotiate or get out of it or look at the things that you're on the hook for, you're like, that can't be right. So
Who would sign this?
Why did I sign that? What was I thinking? And I was like, cool, that sounds, I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds
You don't know
reasonable.
what you
This
don't
is
know
my-
at that point.
This is my first foray into commercial leases. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so that same mentality is, can be applied to every part of the business. You go in and like, I didn't know about marketing. I didn't know how to use Facebook ads and all the back end stuff there. You've got to wear all the hats. All of a sudden you're doing accounting, you're doing your reconciliations through Xero, a platform. I wasn't an accountant. I don't understand, all the machinations of the back end with GST and superannuation, all that sort of stuff. So those challenges are real because you have to be across everything, but at the same time, there's a double-edged sword there, right? Because now all of a sudden, once your business starts to succeed and gets a bit of a roll on, you end up having discussions with people like yourself, and you're talking to us about Facebook ads and how to leverage that. And I'm like, oh, I know that. I know those concepts. I understand what you're talking about. If only I could take my car to a mechanic and he starts talking, I'm like, I know what you mean, but I don't, right?
Yeah.
But now within small business world, I understand all those little elements at enough of a level to feel as though that I can comprehend what people are talking about who have a greater understanding. So, those challenges early on were real and often stifling. And you also, it's an emotional roller coaster. I would ride the highs and lows with every acquisition, but then, like get a new member, I'm like, I am the greatest.
Your whole
business owner
mood
in the
would
world.
be contingent on whether a new member would join or not.
That's right.
But then you were miserable as hell when someone would leave.
Someone cancels, you're like, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And my wife would be like, oh my God, not again. I can't
You
deal
do
with
that
it
2 or 3
anymore.
times in a day. Yeah.
That's right. So I was kind of, you're kind of bipolar.
Yeah.
Really, at some stage. But mate, in all honesty, it's all a challenge at the beginning. But I think, if you're going to be a business owner, you've got to embrace challenge. If you're not willing to enjoy the challenges and really think it's a mindset thing. I was always like, I'm going to create a business because if someone else can do it, I can do it. And if there was something that was challenging, well, if I can't get over that challenge, how am I going to face the next one? So I kind of, I'm a bit sick like that. I embrace challenges. Man. You're the same.
Yeah,
I know you're the same. Like it's, you've got to be willing to just believe in yourself and roll with it, grow with it.
Yeah. So some wonderful insights there. I want to highlight that because you're no longer riding the roller coaster of every new member, every cancellation. There's no longer the ebbs and the flows. You're embracing the challenge. What has helped you do so? What has helped you make this less emotionally taxing? What has given you the ability or the capacity to manage more stress? What has led you to seeking out more challenges, knowing that it's going to rock you to your core, but on the other side of that is the greatness that we're seeing now?
Look, the elephant in the room is that without the business succeeding, none of it works, right? So obviously, once we got to a point, or I got to a point where I had a certain amount of members and the gym was at a point where I was like, this is going to work. Yeah. This is going to work. And I can start to grow and bring people in. That's critical. But the real, like we mentioned before, that helped me then clarify and be really clear on who we are, what we offer, and who is our customer avatar. And once I was really clear on that and I knew what our core values were as a company, what our avatars were, what our program is, what it isn't, it just means that everything funnels into that vision. And you're able to be really clear with your marketing, with your messaging, with the people you hire, the members that come and go. It's less of an effect when if someone was going to leave the business and that, well, they're actually not a great cultural fit for us anyway. Who cares? Yeah. And the people that come in, and you can see how valuable it is for those members, then, I don't need to ride the wave as much with the comings and goings of business because the majority of people stay. And those that leave are ones that you're like, well, if they're leaving for a reason, no one's left the business because they've been really dissatisfied with the service, right? With this demographic, the majority of people leave because they're moving interstate. They, unfortunately, the program is maybe a bit too advanced for them, for the time being, and they have to bow out. Health reasons, but no one is leaving because they're generally just discontented with the service.
It's a really key point you make. Is again, it comes down to the certainty and the clarity that you have around your values, and everything's run through that filter. And so for business owners out there, we hear about the importance of values, but for you, it's been very true, right? Because when people do leave, it's like, well, that's okay, because there was a misalignment of those values in most cases. And so therefore, I'm not going to ride this roller coaster, because what we have is strong. What we have is true. What we have is people that are invested and bought into the values. And that gives me the confidence knowing that I've got a really good business. Yeah.
You posted something recently about with regards to marketing, about the Hormozy, like the 6-week challenge. And you're like, oh my God. And I was thinking about that post, when you did, and I was reflecting on what we do, and in light of what we've just talked about, you get to be able to get to a point to go, with our marketing and our messaging, I just believe in what we do. And I know that we are genuinely, like, our messaging, it is not about, I don't promote 8-week programs and short-term fixes and stuff like that. This is longevity. This is health. We genuinely believe that, like, all we are trying to do is put good into the world. And we want to help people improve not just their fitness, but their quality of life. And that is, that means that when we market with those messages, the people that are drawn to it and come into it, they align with our values. Those that see that and go, rubbish, cool, man.
Yeah.
Go
Those
do what
that
you
want
want
the
to do.
quick fix.
Go find something else to do.
Yeah.
But this is what we do. This is what we offer. This is what we believe in. It just makes everything so much easier rather than trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah, such good insight there. And that conviction, you can feel that, and no doubt your market feels it as well when you communicate. I want to switch gears a little bit. You reached out to me and Fitness Profit a few years ago. What prompted you to make that decision to do so?
I was at that stage, one studio, post-COVID, going okay, but recognizing that I was the limitation in my business's growth, and meaning that my skill sets and where I was as a business owner was limited. And to your credit, you popped up in my inbox quite regularly. Because
the lesson of persistence, right there,
man, 100%, right? And so I got to a point where I was like, I need help. I need help going from being the operator who's doing everything and had a couple of staff to be able to scale and set up systems and make sure that this business is now, not foolproof, but now, in a position where I can start to grow it further without it relying on my time. And I knew that that's something that you guys could help with. And you certainly did. So that's where I was at that time.
What was the major strategy or maybe shift that you made as a result of the coaching? You've already said you identified yourself like, I am the limiter in the business. We always are. You obviously humbled yourself enough to know that was the case. Once you realized that, committed to the coaching, what was the major shift or breakthrough that you had that enabled you to get to that next level?
It was, firstly, one of the things that I don't think people necessarily understand with coaching programs, like yours, is the value in accountability. Is having those regular cadence, regular call, and someone to go, where are you up to now? What are you doing now? Because otherwise, it's easy just to fall back into the habit of doing the things that I like to do. I could just go back and keep coaching and never really do the hard stuff.
If we're only ever accountable to ourselves, we will default to the path of least resistance.
100%. 100%. So that was one of the things that I needed. I needed someone else because, you know, we operate in a pretty siloed approach.
We do.
When you're running your own gym. The other one was getting all the stuff that I did in my head onto a plan. You know, getting systems in place. And, you know, I was working with Jack at the time, and he was great in terms of being a multiple location owner and stepping back and going, these are like things like setting up cadences for staff meetings. And, you know, like email marketing to your members, update, just things that I was doing a lot of ad hoc work around, just putting systems in place and getting, you know, some like automation, lead nurture software linked with this, just little systems and bits and pieces that if I was working by myself, I wouldn't have had any awareness of. And so you end up in a community with people who've done the work before, who are aware of your challenges and who are going through the same thing at the same time. And you just share ideas. And so out of the coaching with you guys, my business just took a leap. It took a leap because I was able to step back as the operator and become more of an overseer and look at my business through a different lens and go, okay, what does the business need that can help it sustain itself without me?
So to that point, the business was very van dependent.
100%.
It's now becoming less key person dependent. Your identity has to change though, and it has to evolve for that to take place because you were the man that did everything. You were probably cleaning, programming, taking the sessions, sales, cancellations, and everything else in between. You're now becoming the operator, to use your very appropriate word. What helped you make that identity shift? Because a lot of people get stuck in the technician and they don't know how to evolve or take that leap or become the operator that you need to be. What helped you do so?
A couple of things. Firstly, good people. The business, my business only survives around or it thrives by having good people in place. And there has to be an alignment of values and belief and mission. And I had firstly at my the first location, she's now my manager there, a great, you know, as someone who was not only a great instructor, then a great teacher who could take the workload off me in terms of teaching classes. So that first little belief that I can step back and let someone else deal with my members and they still stay there. You're like, oh, they don't need me as much. And then you start to think, okay, well, I also need to try and work to make myself redundant. And so the messaging and stuff needs to be about community moves, not about Van Marinos. And so that people start to believe in the brand and the mission and the values that we talked about already. And that it's not contingent on me because, and I would say to, you know, so people would have these conversations early on where I'd say, look, I'm going to hand over Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays to Dillis, my manager here. She's going to take those. And they're like, oh, we want to come for you. And I'm like, your health cannot be dependent on me. Yeah. You have to take ownership over that yourself. And so there was a clear sort of, you know, point where I started to separate myself from the business there. And so I had good staff to do it. And I knew the programming and the systems behind it were easily replicable, you know, from day to day that my staff could follow it. It wasn't just me coming out there and writing a random program. So I knew they were set in place, good staff, good programming, good system. The stuff that I could manage in the back end was also then stuff that, you know, didn't necessarily require me to be there all the time. I could do it from different locations. So I started to believe that I could sort of step back and become more of that operator and believe that the business would still run without me at the coalface all the time.
Systems, people, and building it so it's bigger than you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely love that. You went from being a single location owner to then your second and now a third. What's been the biggest challenge going from 1 to 2 to 3?
The transition from being, I suppose, the owner operator to then also being a leader. You know, so now I've got, you know, 3 managers and their own staff, and me stepping back and letting them manage them their way. You know, taking your hands off the wheels a little bit. That's been a huge challenge because, you know, like most of your listeners, your business is almost like your baby.
Yeah.
You grow it and you nurture it and you get it to a stage, and then eventually you've got to let other people make some decisions for you, or that are best for their gym. And I talk to those my managers as though it is their gym, because I want them to believe that and them to know that they are responsible for the culture in there, and the people are coming in to see them. They're not coming in there for me, because I don't need to be there. So that was a big challenge. The other one is just ensuring that the experience is replicated for the user, for our members across each gym. Making sure that when you walk in, you are seeing the same branding. As soon as you walk in, it's a community moves. So that was, that's a bit of a challenge. But then aside from that, once I'd opened the second one and knew that it could operate without me, the next one was easier, because it was rinse and repeat and do it again. So, definitely challenges in changing my personal role and being able to step back and become more of a leader. And that's, when we talk about challenges early on and embracing challenge, that's one where I'm like, cool, now I get to learn how to lead. This is something different. These are different skill sets that I'm going to acquire. How exciting. So that's been a good challenge, but also one that I'm really embracing. And then just, once again, managing the systems and stuff across the businesses.
I want to talk about leadership, because it's a key topic that our audience loves learning about, and you're living proof of someone leveling up as a leader. What does a great leader mean to you?
That's a really good question, and I think I'm still figuring that out. And I think there are so many different styles of leadership. There's people that, and mine is just like, I think for me, it's just got to be something that I'm comfortable, that is representative of my personality, and one that there's no point in me trying to be a leader that's not going to fit well with me. And so mine is a real caring approach. I care for my staff. I'm interested. I want them to be happy in the gym, outside of the gym. I don't want to sit back and ask of them something that I wouldn't do myself. So I'm still cleaning the gym floor.
A lot of self-leadership, leading by example.
Yeah, and that's because I want them. I want my staff to see, that to feel like they're invested and empowered and part of the business growth, and that I value them. So for me, that's what leadership is. It's leading by example, but leading in terms of, once again, the values, the mission, that sort of forward-thinking approach, and I suppose the sort of tenets of the business are also, a part of my core values, and that's, embedded down through the business. And so, the managers I have, the people that follow me, are ones that also believe in those tenets and believe in that mission. So that's, it doesn't really answer your question in terms of
it does.
Leadership, but that's where I see my role as a leader.
I just want to unpack it for the audience. I think you've given an incredible definition of leadership and what it means to you. Number one, you have to lead your way. So you're not going to try be a famous leader. You're gonna be Van, and I'm going to do it through my personality, my values, and my standards, and what's important to me. Number two, you lead with kindness, and it's understated, and maybe not everyone here will really grab the value of this, but people will they will crawl over glass for someone that believes in them, and for someone that cares. They will never forget that kindness and how much that means. The third part is self-leadership. You're not talking, from the pulpit or whatever else. You are actually getting in there and you're doing it, and you're leading from example. And so they are three incredible characteristics of leadership that you've just outlined, and I thank you for doing so.
Oh, well, it's nice to hear it fed back to you that way.
that is my job.
Well, you distilled it beautifully.
We've talked about how your role's changed within the journey itself. You're now very much an operator. You're a leader. No doubt you're striving every day to become a better leader as well.
Yep.
Community Moves has gone from 1 to 2 to 3. What does the future hold for Community Moves?
Look, we're at a point now where, look, you know, we went from 1 to 2 after, 5 years, 2 to 3, another year and a half later. So that was a quick jump to 3. I've got a young family, and so for an amazingly supportive wife who's been there through all the challenges. So I need, firstly, for Community Moves, it needs to respect what's going on in my personal life as well. So I will stick with the 3 for the moment, and I just want to get them absolutely humming, so that I've got 3 businesses that are so strong and so powerful, and get my systems. There's always more to do, right? And there is always better ways to run it, and I want to get them, to a place where it is just seamless, beautiful businesses. So there's always a lot to do there. That's the immediate future for Community Moves, while it also affords me the personal freedom to be there for my family and my kids at this important time in their life. Beyond that, I'm sort of open to opportunity, and I will, what's always been a problem for me is when I get an idea in my head, it gets stuck there and I can't get it out. So if I started talking about a 4th location now, I'll be opening a 4th gym, right? And so I can't talk about it because
I can't get it out of you.
Otherwise,
this isn't recorded or anything.
No,
so.
Exactly right. Don't you ever play that? But I think there are opportunities to expand with partners with Community Moves. I think that there's plenty of gym owners out there who, might be struggling doing, the same thing that every other gym owner is doing around the place. Like you look at Brookvale, it's like there is a Revel, a BFT, a Yard, a 98 gym, all vying for the same.
It's all the same consumer.
Same consumer.
Yeah.
They're all targeting gym goers. Whereas Community Moves, the whole market, we're marketing to people who don't go to the gym. It's huge.
Which is over 80% of the population.
Over 80% of the population. And so there is an opportunity to partner with other gym owners who are passionate fitness enthusiasts who go, yeah, I'd partner in a Community Moves. So there are opportunities to grow there that don't just rely on me solely. The franchise model, people ask me all the time, are you going to franchise? Are you going to franchise? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to be led by my own personal desires, my, time frames, the opportunities that come your way. But there is no doubt that there could be, you could have a Community Moves in every suburb, and it would add value because it is, it is doing so much more for the members, not just inside of the gym, but outside of the gym than I could ever imagine. And I think that there is a lot of value in it. So the sky is really the limit. But it's, I'm happy with slow and steady. I'm not in any rush because this is a lifestyle business for me. I'm going to keep doing this forever. I love it. It's incredible.
Some really good insights. Number one, right now, big consolidation, but also looking at where you are. We were talking off camera, similar stages in life. We've got families, and we want to make sure that the opportunity cost isn't too significant and we're not robbing from one to give to the other. So how can we build a business that supports, because we want to be present dads and partners as well. But the second thing that I really love is that you're not rigid. You're really open to some possibilities here, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a franchise down the line, you're open to it.
Yeah. There's always because, just like anything, I'm only a product of my own experience and my own perspective. Someone like you might come along and go, have you thought of this? And you're like, whoa, no, but let's do it. So I think you've just got to be I'm open to anything, man. And I think that's what it's a privilege. Firstly, it's a privileged position to be in that, we're able to sit here and talk about a successful business. What a privilege.
Absolutely.
But then it's also an exciting position to be in.
Yeah.
To have that flexibility to be able to go, yeah, maybe I will try that. Yeah.
You would have received a lot of incredible advice during this journey of yours, maybe not just in business, but also life itself, that would have served you particularly well. What's the best piece of advice you have ever been given or received, Van?
Oh, God, Dan, to narrow it down to one.
You don't have to. If you want to share two, you can.
I'm going to give a couple.
Good. All right.
There was, firstly, I better pay respect to my father. My father passed away last year. And, he was a huge supporter of the business. But when I turned 40, my family put together this beautiful book, and he wrote a poem in it. And it basically it's Run, My Boy, Run. And he said, from a young age, I've always just been moving forward, always moving fast, always chasing the next thing, and always just going after it. And so, that bit of advice from him at the end was just keep running. And I will hold on to that forever, because that's, one of the things I have from him, amongst a myriad of other things. And also, one of the benefits of running a gym for older adults is you end up working with people who've had some pretty amazing experiences in life and business.
Yeah.
And there was one of my members, Dave, who's had some pretty amazing positions in businesses globally. When we were talking about the growth of the business, and I think maybe I was frustrated at one point that it wasn't fast enough. I wanted more, and he just said that he's like, mate, the biggest trees grow the slowest roots. And I was like, I'll keep that. Yeah. So I've got this balance between Dad saying run, and Dave's going, hey, go slow. Yeah. So it's a nice little nexus in the middle there.
Well, they both serve you, don't they? And they both, whilst they feel contradictory, they're actually not. The balance in between in those will ensure that the Community Moves brand continues to grow, but at the same time it grows with a strong foundation.
Yeah, well, that's the plan.
Van, I've loved this conversation. There's no doubt the viewers and the listeners have also enjoyed it, and they'll want to find out a little bit more. Who are you? What is Community Moves? How can they connect with you and the brand itself?
Sure, mate. Well, firstly, thank you. I've loved it as well. It's always good chatting and talking a bit of shop. Just head to communitymoves.com.au. There's all the details on there. You can then, just search my name, Van Marinos, on LinkedIn or even through Instagram. The handle's just at Van Marinos. So pretty straightforward. And as I said, love to hear from anyone about anything. Really.
It's been fantastic. I've loved watching your journey, mate. I've seen you now embrace the speaking stage as well and sharing it on other platforms. It's been wonderful to see you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to evolve into the leader that you've become today. So I just want to acknowledge that. I want to say that I'm really proud of you. I want to say congratulations, and I'm looking forward to continuing to see that journey evolve as well.
Likewise, Dan. Thanks a lot.
Guys, thank you so much for watching or listening to today's episode of Profit Made Simple. If you've enjoyed today, make sure you let us know in the comments. Make sure you like and please subscribe. That way we can get this content out to more people so that we can help people just like you have more income, impact, and freedom. And that's what we stand for. Thanks so much.